This episode of Twin Cities Trekkies is brought to you by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor before, let me explain. First of all, it's free. There are creation tools that help you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership required. They'll also help you to distribute your podcast so it can be heard on many different platforms, such as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's all you need in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. All right, everyone. Welcome to episode 20 of Twin Cities Trekkies. I am Wes.
And I'm Kenzie.
And, this is kind of weird about how we're going to start this off. I had originally planned to just record 2 episodes. That's normally what we do here on Twin Cities Trekkies. We record 2 episodes about every 2 weeks. But we've had some exciting news lately coming from Star Trek Picard, actually. So there's a brand new teaser trailer just in time for Captain Picard Day, which is June 16th. So,
No.
so I guess that's the calendar equivalent of Captain Picard Day because they don't go by the Gregorian calendar in the Star Trek universe.
Yeah.
So they don't go by by that calendar of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They really don't do that. Except for in Generations, like, oh, everything will be done by Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh, funny.
Yeah, yeah, they don't go by the Gregorian calendar, so it's generally regarded as June 16th of every year. It's Captain Picard Day. So Paramount Plus decided to release a brand new teaser trailer in celebration of Captain Picard Day, or it was called Star Trek Picard Day. That's what the official title was called, Picard Day.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so we have had a little divergent in at least what I wanted to do for our plans for recording. So this is going to be inserted right in the middle, right in the front. Brand new teaser trailer.
Yeah,
93.
usually we do these like a little quicker because it's more like us predicting, talking about
Mm-hmm.
what our thoughts are.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of a different format than other episodes, but
Yes.
still something you got to pop in and dedicate some time to because when it first comes out, you want to get a chance to speak on it while it's fresh before other spoilers and things happen, like developments.
Yes, totally. That's why we're doing this one episode. This is the 20th episode, so that's what we're going to do for this 20th episode. So to get in touch with us, it's pretty simple. Simply email us at tctrekkiespodcast@gmail.com. You can leave us an email with anything you'd like to say. I mean, keep it within reason, of course. But definitely episode suggestions are welcome from that, or any feedback on an episode you listened to and stuff like that. It's perfectly fine. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. The handle is TC Trekkies Pod for both social media platforms. There's like an episode posted every Wednesday, stuff like that. Like a post for it on both those both those platforms. Granted, the Instagram can't be scheduled. If it could, I would.
Oh, yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I've tried to put a schedule because I do that for the Facebook posts.
You can only save, I think, like save a post and then just keep it.
Yeah.
I bet there's like an app or something. I'm like some body app that you can just like
Here,
do
schedule an
that.
Instagram post.
Yeah, download another app to do that in another app.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's funny, but that's okay. But it's fine. I generally post them about 7 hours after they posted, on Facebook and on the social media, on when the episode is released. Stuff like that. So you'll see an Instagram post then roughly about 7, 8 hours afterward, because it posts when I'm asleep, but but that's okay when we're both asleep. But it's okay because you get up in the morning, here, brand new episode for you. Um, so definitely comments are welcome from there too. And then for voice messages, I know I said the last time we recorded, I think there is no time limit. Um, so for the voice messages, so go to anchor.fm/Twin Cities Trekkies. Once there, just click on that little message bottom at the bottom of the screen. Takes you to a little screen to record your voice. Um, and I think it can be for any length of time. You can do it from your phone, you can do it from your laptop, you can do it from anywhere. Just make sure you have somewhere where you have a microphone and enable it so you can speak through it and stuff like that. And leave us a voice message. We would gladly hear your lovely voice. But just keep in mind that any comments you may leave, verbal or written, may be featured in a future episode of Twin Cities Trekkies. Okay, so we do have feedback.
Heck yeah, I was
Yay!
just about to ask him, like, do we have any feedback?
Yeah, we do. On a couple of our episodes recently.
Nice.
Yeah, so they're both from the same person. Jim Stoffel, one of my Trekkie friends who lives out in California.
Howdy, Jim, if you're listening to this.
Yeah, howdy. So for episode 16, which was titled "Representation Matters," which was about our the LGBTQAIA representation in the franchise. Um, and we had a very good discussion about it. I think it's one of I think a lot of people had a really positive reaction to it, at least as far as I'm aware of. So, but he says representation is very important. I've been a supporter of gay rights since I was in high school in the late 70s. It's sad there has to be a discussion about this. LGBTQ and CIS individuals should have been treated the same way for a long time. Love is love. There is no difference. We are all the same. We are all human, and we all want to be loved.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I can dig it. It is important. Representation does matter. I really liked that episode because I think that's something that Star Trek stands out about doing and being really proactive about. So
yeah.
definitely is excited. And then having a history of kind of running into trying to represent and it not being the right time, so to speak. So
Hmm.
the history of it is pretty significant.
Yes, and I was just going to ask if you've listened to our podcast like when we're not recording. So you answered my question. Yeah, you did answer my question without even me asking it.
Intuitive.
Do you listen to our podcast when you're like working? I do. Uh,
I sometimes kind of I can handle listening to my voice.
yeah,
I got a weird thing about my own voice where I just don't sound like how I expect myself to sound. So sometimes it throws me off. I'm like, I can't listen to it. Just throws. I have to pretend it's not me talking.
yeah, I understand completely. You know, because speaking of that, there was one time I was listening to one of our episodes and I was actually making dinner, and my wife comes in from work, and my wife Holly comes home from work, and she said, "Oh, are you talking to somebody?" I was like, "No." I'm listening to one of my podcast episodes. So, oh,
Now there's two of you.
oh.
Just like talk with yourself, like as you record it, like listening to the recording, be
Yeah,
talking with yourself and having a conversation about it.
yeah, and she thought I was talking to you.
Yeah, just like, oh, did you give Kenzie a call? It's like, oh, nope, just listening to recording of ourselves. Don't mind me.
Yeah, don't mind me. Yeah. I was just, yeah, I just wanted to mention that right now because I do listen to our podcast when I'm working. So,
I think it's important to do.
yeah,
Listen to it, check it through. Because sometimes if you hear something wild, it's like, oh wait, did I say that? It's like, oops.
yeah, or something like that. Yeah, definitely. We have feedback for episode 18, which was titled "Thresholds of Spock's Brain," which I titled it because we talked about both episodes and they were classified as weird episodes.
Oh yes.
So I thought that was a very cool title, "Thresholds of Spock's Brain." Um, and he said, "I really liked Innocence and Threshold. Innocence is one of my favorite Voyager episodes in my top 20, and Spock's Brain is actually a good episode in my book. I enjoyed the episode. Good job. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty convoluted on how people categorize those because I've had people where like I've seen an episode where I'm like, do not understand why this episode was even made, or just being like, I don't know how to feel about this episode. Everyone's like, dude, that's my favorite episode. Like, I love that episode of Star Trek. It's like, huh, everybody has their own taste, you know? Like,
Yeah, yeah, to each their own, yeah. To each their own about how they feel about favorite episodes and stuff like that, because there was a post in a Star Trek Facebook group I saw last night, actually, as I record this. Someone had posted like their top worst episode, 3 episodes from the first season of Next Generation, and the top 3 funny episodes. And the worst episodes the person mentioned were the pilot encounter at Farpoint, Skin of Evil, and the Arsenal of Freedom. Um, Personally, I think all 3 of them are great.
yeah, I was like, I don't
I
have any qualms with those.
don't have any qualms with those either. I mean, out of those 3, I mean, granted, I agree with what Marina Sirtis has said about Encounter at Farpoint. She has stated that Encounter at Farpoint is like Star Trek meets the movie Sophie's Choice. Um,
Yeah,
so she has said that on occasion. Because I don't understand. I've never seen Sophie's Choice, but definitely she mentions that occasionally. And I do like Skin of Evil, and I do like the Arsenal of Freedom, because the Arsenal of Freedom definitely was an episode that tried to tell about the arms race between the Soviet Union and the United States in the late '80s with the Cold War.
yeah, that was gonna say out of those three, I'd say that's probably my favorite one.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's so that it depends on if people actually like stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah, and one of the episodes they mentioned was for like the funny episode was Justice.
No,
I really think Justice is kind of like a bad one, but I mean, there's a lot more clunkers than there are good ones in season 1 of the Next Generation, and I
yeah,
think
that's
Justice is one
interesting.
of them. So, and they also mentioned Haven the first time we met Loxana Troy, and the overbearing mother.
No, yeah, I mean that in itself can be hilarious because she's
Yeah,
out of control.
yeah, she was in control in that episode too, and all those traits of being an overbearing mother pretty much happened right then in that episode, even though it's a very, very weird episode too.
Yeah,
Uh, because it's just it's all the plot's all over the place. So that's what I'm saying. It's all over the place. So that's why I classify it as like a weird episode, not necessarily a bad one, but it's just a weird one.
yeah, and I
Just
think
so
that's important to note. Like, if listening through that episode too, it's like we all have different ways of categorizing. Like some of those episodes we had talked about in that episode where ones that maybe we consider bad or ones we considered weird or that they just didn't sit right with you. And like I feel like it's a very unique way to categorize something because it can mean so many things to a person where could just be the content where it's like I don't get why they're talking about the arms race in the 24th century, or I just don't like these characters interacting with each other, so it's weird to me, or just they don't like the content, or the plot is really messy, or they just straight up hate the episode because of whatever other reason.
Yeah, and we mentioned about weird episodes. One I think that the 2 episodes from Next Generation that they probably should really consider getting rid of from streaming and syndication. And I'm just saying my personal opinion. I'm not like saying that they should, because I know The Simpsons have done it with an episode of theirs on Disney Plus because of
Yeah,
Michael Jackson. But the first episode of that 3rd season, like when Michael Jackson cameoed in that episode, wasn't credited, but now it's been removed from streaming and syndication because of a documentary about Jackson. Um,
yeah,
so they don't air it in syndication. They don't have it on Disney Plus. So if for some reason if Viacom CBS decides to like go through the entire library of Next Generation episodes, or any of the episodes from the original series that they consider to be like triggering, I want to say,
yeah,
um, and quotations. The only two episodes I can see that happening to are Code of Honor and Angel One from the first season of Next Generation, because Code of Honor has been deemed very, very racist.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, the concept is sound. Don't get me wrong, the concept is sound. I mean, but it's just the way it was portrayed was highly racist.
Yeah, that one just does not.
Yeah,
We're just gonna. I don't
I don't,
know.
I'm not overanalyzing it or anything like that. It's just that episode should just like
I
go.
mean, even Jonathan Frakes agrees that he does not like that episode either. So,
Yeah, yeah, and even what was it Denise Crosby too? You
yeah,
know, yeah, and then the same one with Angel One. I mean, I've heard very differing opinions, but I think the general consensus is that one is highly sexist.
yeah,
So, I mean, more sexist than Turnabout Intruder. I
yeah. I
mean,
was gonna say, well,
that's how I feel
relativity.
about it. So,
Yeah,
but if Paramount Plus decided to remove them from streaming and Viacom CBS decides not to air them on Pluto TV or on BBC America, where like those are the two places that you could pretty much watch Next Generation. Um, if they would decide to just get rid of them, I mean, completely, I would understand. But
yeah,
I know that Star Trek fans like to be complete.
yeah. It's also important, I guess, to like see that kind of stuff because you can see where there's fumbles and like
Hmm.
story writing or thinking like that's like the intention is important there, like trying to
Yeah.
have a discussion around race in the future,
Yes.
and it just doesn't come off right, and it just comes off as really stereotyping
Hmm.
and awkward. So I mean, I think it's important for people to see that, to be like, hey, look at how complicated having discussions about race is. Like you see people trying to make like a well-intentioned effort and it just ends up fumbling super hard, like Code of Honor.
Yes, totally. Yeah. So I guess that's all I have to say about
Yeah,
that.
awesome feedback from people though.
Yeah.
That's great
Yeah.
to hear. I like hearing other people's opinions on stuff, like
Yes.
hearing like if they liked an episode or
Hmm.
like what they if they're just validating something they heard in the episode, being like, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, totally. And I totally would. I just implore everyone to either send us a message or an email or comment on our posts. Gladly read them. I know, and we can definitely spend some time. If you send a bunch of emails, we can definitely dedicate an episode to just your feedback.
Fan mail.
The fan mail episode, we can definitely do that. It's perfectly fine. We would definitely like to do I mean, I know down the line, I probably wouldn't mind doing an episode just dedicated just to you, for the fans the listeners out there. So,
Yeah, when we start getting into these character analyses
yes.
episodes that we were going to start running with, that Wes had an idea about,
Hmm.
which that'll be an upcoming episode.
Yeah.
Do that on Wes and I character analyses.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. That's awesome. All right. So, part take two of Picard season two predictions. And I know we had a teaser trailer for Discovery already. Before I get into it, I know we've had a teaser trailer for it. Um, Granted, we probably will do a Discovery season four predictions when a more
Yeah,
detailed trailer comes
that was
out.
a little like I'm not sure what to take from that except it's like, oh, something really bad happened. So
Yeah, exactly. So, but the
not sure.
Picard one has been more exciting lately.
Yeah, and especially this last one definitely gives us a little bit
Yes.
more to work with and understand what might be happening.
Yeah, definitely. So the teaser trailer is about 90 seconds, but it is chock full of more detail than the first trailer we got back in April. Um, you know, still on track for 2022 release. That hasn't changed. Um, we still don't know when.
Yeah.
Granted, I think it will be after Discovery season 4. Um,
Yep,
whenever that,
agreed.
yeah, whenever that ends, whenever Discovery season 4 ends, Picard season 2 will begin. So, I still think that's gonna be the next one, the first one in 2022. And then it's Strange New World season 1. But I could be wrong though. So,
Yeah, that lineup I'm not sure about. We'll see how it plays out, I guess. But
yeah,
right now everything seems like it's on track, and
yeah.
I don't know. I just be happy if they just like what if they just release it all at once? I would just be so happy.
Yeah, I wish they could just, get everything done right now, and then we can all just like,
Yeah, but can someone make a replicator but for TV shows and then just
yeah,
do it? Some sort of algorithm that can predict how they're going to write the show and then just release it. Thanks.
yeah, like, yeah, that'd be nice. That would be nice. So, yeah, still a nice second trailer. We got to see, actually footage of Picard and Q, um, which was nice. Yeah, I
I
mean,
like that he just has to call out Picard looking at the aged, be like, "My,
yes,
you've aged," and it's like, "Well, so have you, Q." Like,
that's what I think is gonna happen.
where was Picard's snappy little like reaction to him being like, "Oh, geez, it's Q," and like being like, "Get out of here."
Yeah, I know, and you know, I wonder if they'll mention, if he's actually seen him since All Good Things somewhere in that conversation.
I feel like he's had to have been keeping tabs on him like that. And that was part of my whole like prediction of like why he decided to come back. Like, there's got to be something that he's just been like creeping along and just hanging out, just seeing what's going on, and then finally was like, you know what, I'm gonna intervene here and
Yeah,
have a little spin.
yeah, and it goes like, I mean, Q goes, you're a bit older than I imagined. Uh,
Yeah,
uh,
which I was like, so that made me be like, I'm not sure if he has seen him or not, or if he's just giving him crap like he always does. So
yeah, and it's kind of weird that right now, I mean, granted, people are up in arms about how John Delancey looks in that teaser trailer as
what a
Q.
silver fox, everybody.
No, I've seen people actually complain about how old he looks.
Oh,
Uh,
I've had a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people talking about being like, "Oh, nice, like silver
yeah,
fox, dude," and I'm like, "Oh man, I don't
yeah,
know
I
if I
know.
can say the same about John Delancey. Great
Yeah,
guy, but I'm not sitting here being like, wow, what a cutie."
yeah.
Can't ever get over that weird purple dead skin lipstick look that he had in Next
Hmm.
Generation that just threw me off. I'm like, what's going on there?
Yeah, I know exactly. I mean, it's definitely more pronounced. I mean, that lipstick is more pronounced when it's in HD than
Yeah.
it was in standard definition, when the Next Generation was remastered.
Yeah, you watch it, it's like, was his lips always this like purple? Like
Yeah,
I just remember watching it like, what's going on with these lips here? Like I don't remember him looking this dramatic, but
no,
maybe it's the HD.
yeah, maybe it's the HD. Yeah, maybe. But I've seen people like complain about how old he looks, and it's like he did play, an older version of Q before. Um,
Yeah.
in the final episode of Next Generation, he was actually in that future timeline on the past year. He had like a little, um, like those people who are deaf, and you have those like things
Yeah.
on the top of their ears. Like, what did you say? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
What did she say? Yeah, she has. So he has played an older version of his character in the
And I think,
past.
he's always been able to like,
Yeah,
freely will how he wants to present himself and look. Maybe he made himself look older to make Picard feel a little bit better about looking older, Like
yeah,
I had that joke being like maybe he that's like the whole joke that he comes back looking older, being like, well, I thought I better age myself a little bit to make you feel better.
yeah,
Like I could see that kind of poking fun with his
yeah. And I
character.
can see what you're saying happening too.
Yeah.
It's like, you're a bit older, I imagine. Well, Picard would say, so do you.
So are you.
So are you. And, so the main the main theme of this teaser trailer is the road not taken.
Yeah, welcome
Uh,
to the very end of the road not taken.
so that's a very ambiguous line from John Delancey. And there's like shots of Picard being at Starfleet Command with Raffi with like wearing that admiral's uniform again.
Mm-hmm.
Which by the way, I actually really do like that uniform.
Yep,
Um,
agreed.
yep. It's actually I think I like that on the. I mean, it's definitely on par with like what came before those 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 first contact uniforms.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's definitely a good progression to that. That's great progression to it. That's great. But the line, the road, here's the end of the road not taken. This could mean that the Picard that we had in Tapestry, the one who was like the lowly astrophysics officer,
Yeah.
could have risen all the way to the Admiralty. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I think Tapestry is gonna be the episode Tapestry is gonna be paid very, very like heavily. I mean,
Yeah.
like granted, I could be wrong. I mean, but I think it could very well play a role because because the whole it's gonna be taking place in an alternate universe apparently.
Yeah, I'm assuming there's like, I mean, obviously, like time is the true final frontier. That was like the whole theme with
Yeah,
Picard season 2, and it's like, so I'm assuming there's something about like there's got to be like a temporal anomaly or an alternate reality, or maybe we find out the Picard that we've known this whole time is an alternate reality that Q is coming to like put an end to and be like, hey, welcome to the end of this weird scenario playing out. I'm just going and fixing the timelines. I don't know.
yeah.
Like I'm not sure. We get to see, the extent of some of Q's power throughout different episodes of the series.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know, like, the full potential of what he's capable of doing, like, beyond just, like, him playing around with humans because he's intrigued by humans. He can definitely, like, take people all the way across space casually, take them to different realities and, travel around, but it's all based on his own pure interest. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if this will be something where he's like taking them in, like being like a ghost of Christmas future and like bringing them to the future and like showing them all like what could have been and what never was, or
Yeah, totally.
like playing something like that, or
Yeah,
yeah, I don't
but then
know.
yeah, it would be
Or is he
different.
going to be the enemy and then it's going to be like, hey, I'm going to set off a chain of events just to mess with you and force you to like grow as a character like he always does, where it's like, hey, I have a ulterior motive here, but also I'm just going to put you in a really bad situation and hope that you do well with it.
Yes, and yeah, so I mean, there have been subtle changes to this alternate timeline. You know, all of the characters are like wearing this like, I mean, the characters that we saw like, I mean, there was only like two, Picard and Rios, are wearing this like silver arrowhead
Yeah.
with a little knife in the middle of it, where Starfleet arrowhead emblem with a little knife at the end, like a little the handle of a knife at the end of it.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, that made me think of like, did something happen in this alternate reality that caused the Federation to become more ruthless?
Yeah. That's what was making me like seeing that. I'm like,
I don't think
maybe.
mirror universe, but I think maybe an alternate timeline where you know, maybe like the Federation became more ruthless and like kind of like there's an episode of DS9, Michael Eddington when he betrayed Cisco, and that whole speech he does, talking to Cisco about the Federation and stuff like that. In some ways you're worse than the Borg, you
Yeah.
know, and And somehow that line, I think, I mean, when I saw those combat those emblems on their chests, and I'll go on both Picard and Rios, I'm thinking like, did the Federation become more ruthless in trying to get more members to its union? Um, it's like join the Federation or else kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even though La Serena is in this Starfleet apparently. So the little ship that Rios has.
Hmm.
So apparently it got conscripted somehow into this alternate federation. So, but but this alternate timeline could be like Picard never left Starfleet. By the way, he could have never. I mean, heck, even the Romulan supernova probably didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm thinking like that there's going to be something played around that.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
what's it like investigating what caused that and then finding out some big thing. Like I feel like that's the Q's thing is when he does show up, at least for Picard's sake, it's to like warn him or be like, hey, check this out, or like you want to learn about something that you would have never else had a chance to learn about.
yeah, or something like that. I have a feeling that something like that. Maybe yeah, like maybe the Romulan supernova never happened. Maybe the attack by the synths on Utopia Planitia didn't happen. Stuff like that, which would probably be a good thing. In
Yeah.
retrospect, if they got rid of, if say like this at the end of season 2, um, the Romulan supernova can still happen, but the synth attack, which was, I think personally, one of the weakest plot points of the first season. I mean, granted, it started in a short trek, but mentioned in the first episode of Picard. Um, I think I think the synth attack on Utopia Phoenicia was one of the weakest plot points
Yeah.
because it was completely out of left field.
Yeah, just
Um,
like there was already so much to like bite on already with like the Romulan situation, and then
mhm.
you throw that in too, and it's like, are these connected, or is it just two really bad things happening at once, or like what's the point of having this also involved in the story? And I guess
Yeah,
pushing it along.
yeah. I felt it was kind of. I felt that was one of the weakest plot points of season 1 was the attack by the synths on Utopia Planitia. Because I just felt like that was the one of the weakest plot points. Because it was like I said, it started in that short trek Children of Mars, but it was continued in Picard the first episode, when the journalist was talking to Picard about the anniversary of the Romulan supernova and stuff like
Yep.
that, and brought it up, um, and made him really angry, obviously, because I mean, because Starfleet didn't. That's why he resigned. For those who don't know, that's why he resigned, is because Starfleet didn't continue the mission even after that, because because even though it was more of a humanitarian crisis, that Starfleet always was, bound to help.
Yeah.
Even though the Romulans were a sworn enemy of the Federation, you know, and had relaxed their like their frosty relationship a little bit thanks to Nemesis. Um, and this happened, and then the Starfleet decides not to do it because there are member worlds who said, if you continue to do this, we'll pull out.
Yeah.
At what point do they value membership over humanitarian crises? So, and that's why he left. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, granted, I think that was a very ambitious thing to do in the first place. I mean, I think that was a great thing to do because we never knew what happened after Nemesis before
Yeah.
in that 9-year time frame
Which I would say
between.
that was the thing that made me excited about Picard is when I realized that it's going to be jumping point off of Nemesis. Which for me, like Nemesis was one of those kind of like let downish like
Yeah.
experiences where I'm like, oh yeah, that's like a lot, and this is really messy, and I'm not sure how to feel about this. Like, but it was exciting to see them like continue with that, being like, okay, so they're gonna build off of that, and they're gonna pursue that more. Which thank goodness. So like that was something like I would try to explain to people, being like when I was trying to get like my boyfriend to watch that, I was trying to explain to him that I'm like, this is actually a continuation of like this movie, or like of this like nemesis, and explaining it to him like what happened and everything, just to give him a little update, which that does make it a little like, I feel like it's important to know, but Picard made it so you don't have to know that whole background
Hmm.
to like jump into it, so that was nice too.
Yeah, and it was a nice little jumping tight that we actually got to see the Federation after what happened with Romulus in the 2009 Star Trek film,
Yeah.
with the Romulan supernova, uh, stuff like that. And I mean, granted, I personally think it's a little bit out there regarding the science regarding that, um, just a little bit
Mm-hmm.
out there. But it's a movie. If you
Yeah.
need to, that's the one thing that we all gotta know. It's a movie. It's not real. I mean, granted, we want some science accuracy, but personally, I think that could be a little bit out there.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's just a movie. So, but we never knew what happened to the Federation after that. But we never knew what happened in the interim between um,
Mm-hmm.
Nemesis and that disaster.
Yeah, I feel like there's
So
gonna be a lot of room to like
I know the all
explore a
the
lot of different possible outcomes of like different
hmm
big events that have happened during that time period.
yeah, and I know that the books and comics have been trying to bridge that gap. Um, I mean, granted, I think some of the books from the last like since Nemesis could be adapted as like you know,
Yeah, I think it's important to stick to some of that and like, really
yeah,
check it out. I feel like that's what like take a note from Marvel. I feel like they've been doing a good job of really like investing time in researching,
hmm
really good comics and storylines from comics that might not be as well known, and have really made something of those. And I'm like,
yes,
I think Star Trek could definitely play off of some of the great material that exists in books, in
yes,
comics.
hmm I think they could too, but I mean, granted, now that now since Kurtzman took over the franchise and since Discovery started in 2017, the books and comics have been more um, in line with what's going on screen. I mean, like some of them, I think the general consensus is that some of them are like meta canon. It's like a little bit more of like here's more context of what's actually going on, so you understand it a little bit better. So but that's what I think is going on now, especially with the with like the books. There have been like 3 books for Picard so far. I know there's one coming out this summer.
Oh, nice.
Yep. There's been 3 books. There was one about it was prior to the synth attack. Like, I don't mean to spoil the book, but but I know that certain plot points. I mean, granted, I haven't read the book either. It's called The Less Best Hope. It's written by Una McCormack, and she's written a book about what happened to the Enterprise and Picard after Nemesis. Like there was like so technically Worf became captain of the Enterprise. Um, that's why I'm thinking that could happen somehow. Uh, but stuff like that, and then Picard became an admiral. He didn't listen to Kirk. That really ticked me off. It's like
Yeah.
why did Picard become an admiral when James T. Kirk himself told him not to do that?
Yeah.
Did you completely
Same with
forget the
Fate.
movie? Did you completely forget that conversation between Kirk and Picard in Generations? I was like,
Gets ignored.
when I found out that Picard was going to be an admiral, I was going like, what? Really?
Like, apparently he doesn't take Kirk to
Kirk's
his own word.
yeah, he
Like,
doesn't.
thanks for the advice, but no thanks.
Yeah, it's like thanks but no thanks. It's pretty much that's what it was. Um, but he became cap. I mean, he commanded a different ship to like because it was gonna happen, and they were trying to figure out what to do. And Picard took command of another ship and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much what it is and stuff like that. And because
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see where they end up on like where they're gonna put Picard and
hmm
what they're gonna focus on with his story. Is it gonna be like a like Christmas Carol vibe of like going back and looking at all of
Hmm.
his mistakes and being like, do you remember when he made this mistake? What about this one? Now here's a chance to change it. Or what if
Yeah,
we, like
yeah,
try something different? But it'll be interesting. I like that Jonathan Frakes is directing. I thought that was pretty interesting.
yeah. He can still do it, even though yeah, because out of the three live action Star Trek productions that have still in active production, the only one that hasn't had a COVID problem is Picard so far.
That's
So,
good though.
yeah, I mean, Strange New Worlds and Discovery have,
Yeah.
and but the one thing that Picard hasn't had so far is a COVID outbreak, which is a good thing. But because I mean, granted, now that California is fully reopened again,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and now they can probably do more things and stuff like that. So yeah, so about that scene in Starfleet Command, they see like a whole bunch of Alpha Quadrant species flags, and they're all based on what they had previously. Actually, it's actually kind of nice to see actual things that have been seen before in Star Trek. There was like a Klingon flag, there was a Bajoran flag, there was a
Mm-hmm.
Cardassian flag, um, and there was a Tellarite flag. Oh, someone's car alarm's going off uh, outside. I'm not
Heck
trying to.
yeah.
I hate
What
that.
beautiful background noise.
Yeah. So the
I can
kid.
actually hear it, so I'm like, oh, that's fine.
Okay, now it's gone off. Okay, it's so weird. It just went off. Um. Yeah. So there was a whole bunch of canonical flags that we've seen before, which was nice to see. Um. Maybe the Klingons joined the Federation in this alternate reality. Um. Or they're still probably still allies. Hopefully. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, by the time of Star Trek Online, they're enemies again. But that's meta canon again. Um, even though it's under direct license from Viacom CBS. Um, but definitely there was a whole bunch of canonical flags there, including one I don't think we've ever seen before. I mean, granted, it probably was in Discovery, but I don't remember. The Tolerate flag was there.
Yeah.
I think it was in Discovery, but I'm not 100% sure. But maybe there'll be some tie-in with season three of Discovery a little bit. I mean, could
Yeah, that'd be
probably
interesting.
yeah, see if some tie-in there. Maybe this is the beginning of the like maybe it starts off
Hugh
really really
having to bother Discovery next. Like he hasn't gotten to bother them yet.
yeah, and he could
So
now. He could
yeah.
now. Um, yeah, so it's like I think maybe it's like a tiny bit related to season three, maybe. Um, you know, with the Federation, fracturing a little bit, just a little bit. Um, with this alternate universe and stuff like that. Yeah, but I think the biggest thing ever was Jerry Ryan.
Yeah.
She wakes up in this really weird apartment, and she finds out that she doesn't have her implant anymore.
Yeah. It's gone off of her face.
Yeah,
And
she's like
she
freaking
seems
out.
shocked.
She's
And
like
she looks
doing
down and sees like a pin and like some makeup on her desk. And it's like, I don't know, like why the look down and then looking at that being like, huh, what's going on?
yeah, about that pin. Fan sets who makes all those pins for Star Trek are gonna have a field day. Um, looking at that thing and making it. With all those pins that fan sets makes. And stuff like that. Cause I mean, with the pins that they make and stuff like that, they're gonna have a field day with that one. Cause you know, we don't know exactly what that symbol is, and
Yeah, I was like, that's not something I've seen before. And I kind of scoured around to see if I heard any commentary in it, but I didn't really see a lot of like online chat about it. So I was kind of like, was that something that people already knew about and I missed it or something? Because I didn't see a lot of people commenting on that, but I thought it was weird because I'm like, I don't remember seeing this symbol.
no, and actually, I heard something about maybe it's something to do with the Federation. I think I heard it from a different podcast actually. Because they were talking about this trailer. Um, and I'm gonna shout you guys out right now. It's a Strange New Pod. Um, a Strange New Pod podcast. Um, they were mentioning this, and I think they were mentioning something about like maybe That's right. That's where the mirror universe kind of thing, like alternate ruthless universe, came out. Was that pin that seven has, stuff like that, and yeah,
Yeah, I can see that.
maybe in this alternate timeline she never got assimilated. You
Yeah,
know?
and that's what I'm like wondering. I'm like, is it that they found a way to remove the implant, or was it that she's never been Borg?
Yeah,
And
maybe
that's what
she's
I
still
was wondering
Annika
about.
Hansen.
Like, or is it yeah, and she is herself, her human self.
Yeah,
Um, like, or if Q is doing some sort of buffoonery of playing everybody or imagining that or putting everyone through some sort of trials of like a close personal character study of each of these characters.
yeah, maybe. It'd be interesting to see. Because she wakes up and she doesn't have her implant on, notices the pin, but then there's a wedding ring on her finger. Did you notice that?
Now I'm like going to look. I'm like, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, she's wearing a wedding ring on her finger. So in this alternate timeline, she could be married.
Yeah, that's
To
what.
who?
Now I'm like, yeah, that's yeah. I wonder.
Yeah. Are we gonna get? Oh, this would be really, really interesting. And I think this is gonna be really interesting. We saw Raffi and Seven having like more of a romantic thing at the end of season one.
Yeah.
And here's the funny part. I think maybe, just maybe Robert Beltran comes back and plays Chakotay.
Oh man, that'd be epic. I
And
haven't heard anything about him. I randomly heard that like Robert Picardo like
yeah,
talking about being called back for Picard, and I'm like,
yeah.
wait, are you gonna be emergency medical hologram here or?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that could be interesting too. But it's just weird that she sees there's a wedding ring on her finger. You know, and this would be weird if it would be because Robert Beltran still works, still acts. So
Yeah. Yeah, I just like it'd be interesting to hear how many people are getting pulled back for this because
mm,
now we're going across multiple series and picking up
multiple
different characters
timelines.
throughout the series. Yeah, and multiple timelines. So it's like I just wonder how they're going to play it all together.
Oh, this will be. I still stand firm on my belief that this will be the most ambitious season of Star Trek to date.
Yeah,
Because
especially if they get. I feel like there's a lot of high hopes, especially bringing Q back. Where I'm like, I feel like Q is a really divisive character for a lot of Star Trek fans. Like some people really like him and like being around, and some people just absolutely loathe his character.
yes, and I completely agree with you on that. But yeah, it's interesting to see what's going to happen. I think in this timeline she is probably Annika Hansen
Mm-hmm.
in this timeline and stuff like that. And I want to the last thing I want to mention is that on the same day as the trailer was released by Paramount Plus, they also released a new teaser poster, and it shows the
Oh,
Los Angeles skyline with the freeways in the delta shape.
well, that's
So
cool.
yeah, it's Los Angeles roughly present day.
Yeah, and I mean, like with some of the the previous like teasers and things, like people have like taken pictures of
Hmm.
like them in production and stuff. Like they were on a bus, like
Yeah.
transit system, which I'm not sure if in the 24th century there's still buses running, like or maybe only certain parts of the world have them still or something. Like it could be a classist thing too, but regardless, it's like I'm assuming there's gonna be some time stuff, and that I'm assuming they're in present day. They're in
L.A.
present day LA for that
Yeah.
scenery.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with that because I wonder how they. I mean, first of all, how do they travel back? Probably it's pretty obvious. It's Q, but I'm kind of curious to know what brought them to the present day. Was it something that Q wanted them to take care of that
Yeah,
prevents
I
this
feel like he
ruthless
always has like
Federation?
an ulterior motive of like he's trying to teach something or make
Hmm.
them understand something. Like maybe something happened in the 21st century that put everything on a path that ended up like how Picard ended up, or
Yeah,
why the Federation ended up the way it did, or
yeah.
just something really minuscule that set up a chain of events that led them up to where they are now,
Hmm.
and that he wants them to see something there.
Yeah. And I hope it's not as. I hope it's more. It's got more oomph regarding what happened in the present day that caused this ruthless Federation. Because I'm gonna tell you this much right now, Mackenzie. I do not mind Discovery season 3, but the way they explained the galactic event that caused the Federation to splinter, the burn,
Yeah,
the explanation is atrocious.
yeah, I totally agree.
I mean, I get it, but it's also
For
like,
something so grandiose, it requires a very good explanation.
yeah, and I expected more from that, but it was just a little kid who lost his mom. It was like, oh, I mean, I get it, I understand, but still, I thought that was the explanation for the burn was the weakest plot point of season 3 of Discovery.
Yeah,
So, so that's why I'm hoping for the reason why they're going back to the 21st century and going back to 2021 Los Angeles, pretty much, is it better be a darn good explanation of why. Uh,
yeah. In the words of Carl Sagan, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and I hope this is the case.
I hope so too. I mean, granted, I'm gonna enjoy the bus scenes with Raffi and Seven because I just see a bunch of Voyage Home vibes. Uh, is there gonna be? Oh, you know, what'd be funny if they had Kirk Thatcher who played that punk on the bus in the Voyage Home, and
Oh yeah,
he did it in actually did it in a Spider-Man movie too. If
that'd
he
be
were on
sweet.
that bus and played the same song,
That'd be so epic.
the I Hate You song.
Yeah. But then
Oh,
we get to watch Seven of Nine reacting
yeah,
to
or
this
Seven and
instead.
Raffi reacting to it. Oh gosh, that would be epic. Yeah, so it's gonna be, I think, like I said, most ambitious season. I mean, granted, all of the Star Treks now have been trying to be ambitious and stuff like that. And we don't know who's all in the season, other than the
Yeah,
five main
there's been
characters.
like leaks of people who are going to be joining, or
Yeah,
talks of people posting that they've been like reached out to, and then
yeah,
getting people's hopes up and then being sad when they're not actually what we had hoped.
yeah,
But
yeah.
hopefully, like anyone that's had commentary about possibly being involved will be the tip of that iceberg, but that maybe there'll be even more.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens because I'm granted I hope I still hope we still see the Enterprise E somehow. Because we still need to see that. I would totally love to see that in a TV version of Star Trek because this is a really weird explanation of why. When First Contact, Insurrection, and Nemesis were being made, especially First Contact and Insurrection, DS9 was still on the air,
Yep.
and and Rick Berman, oh, good old Rick Berman. Um,
What a guy.
yeah, he had made a decision to because with the DS9 writers, do not include the Enterprise E in your stories because
Interesting.
it's restricted to the movies and stuff like that. That's it.
I did not know that.
And if we see the Enterprise E, which I was hoping for in Picard season 1, but it would be nice to give a little a little bit of a, hey Berman, here you go, or something like
Look
that.
what I got, Berman.
Look, I got Berman. I put the Enterprise E in this story. Ha! It was I think it was an unwritten rule or something like that. But I think he said that to the writers of DS9 not to conclude the Enterprise E in the Dominion War stories, even though they probably wanted to many
Yeah,
times.
I can
Um,
feel that.
yeah. but they just didn't want to like they didn't want to include it for some reason. I think it was Berman who said don't. So
Yeah, that's interesting. I did not know that little factoid.
yeah, it was kind of yeah. I think it was like yeah. I think it was stuff like that. So that's how it all came down. So that's why I'm hoping for an Enterprise E appearance still.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Maybe we'll get James McAvoy like I said before, playing a younger Picard. Maybe we'll get a Stargazer. Maybe we'll get like a Stargazer scene. Maybe we'll get an Enterprise E scene with him playing a younger version of Picard
That
on
would
the
be so epic.
bridge of the Enterprise, even on the D too. Even though we saw that in the first episode of Picard, the Enterprise D. So stuff like that. Who knows?
Lots of possibilities. I
Yes.
just want to hear if anybody else has. I'm like, this is where I really want to hear people's like feedback on our episodes that we do, being like, hey, what are your predictions? Like, I want to hear some of these predictions.
Yes, definitely. So that leads into our final thoughts. That yeah, definitely. I would love to hear your what's this thing? I totally would love to hear your thoughts about it. I
Yeah,
know. Are you excited? Are you disappointed? Are you? I know people.
dreading because of Q. Like, are you loving because of Q?
Yeah, I don't think Q is there to. I mean, granted, a lot of fans have a mixed bag regarding season one of Picard.
Yeah, and that's already like setting up, being like, okay, so now they're gonna try to pull in Q and like fix things or change some of that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think probably the reason why Cube popped up in the first place was because he probably saw Picard turn into this android, and he
Yeah.
probably wants him back in their flesh and blood.
Yep.
So that's probably why he showed up in the first place. And if that ends up being the end of the season where Q turns him back into a human being, um,
Real human being.
yeah, they turn like Pinocchio and turn him back to a real boy. Uh, yeah, it would be like, I mean, granted, uh, it will be interesting to see. But considering that they're filming seasons 2 and 3 together, it will be very, very interesting
Yeah.
to see what comes out of it. Because you never know, this could be a 2-season story, which would be very,
Yep.
very good to do. Which would be very, very interesting to do. Do
Yeah. And
a, a,
then it gives them more space to really flesh out whatever it is that they're trying to tackle. Like that's my biggest thing of like giving like time and space for a storyline where I'm like, if you're gonna, focus in on some sort of plot point, at least having a couple seasons to really flesh it out feels nice. If you're gonna
yes.
go the static route like that.
Yes, totally. Yeah, and I mean they've said that they have enough material for 3 seasons, but they decided to do it as long as Stewart is able to and wants to do it. You know, and I have a
Which
feeling
thank
that
goodness that Patrick Stewart likes Picard as a character, because that can be a tough thing. Like I just don't want it to turn into like a Han Solo situation where just like Harrison Ford does not like you know
yeah,
Star Wars and
yeah,
like something like that where it's like don't burn him out though, or don't ruin his respect for his own character to the point where he's just like, no, I that's not me, and like gets super bent out of shape about it.
yeah. It's like that kind of feeling is like ugh, don't. I'll do it as long as I can, but it's like I will end when I feel like it's Nietzsche's ranch will end again. Um, because he had said no to Star Trek Project Plan Picard for what, like 16, 17 years
I
at
was
that
like, yeah,
point.
nearly 20 years.
Yeah, at that point. So, because and he had totally wanted to turn them down too. So, at that point. So, uh, but he was intrigued, and that's the end of that. The rest is history. There's to end it right now. Episode 21 next week. We're gonna talk about This is gonna be the first of a few several episodes talking about character analyses. Ooh, that's gonna be interesting to do.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting to like play out like how we want to talk about the history, or like I wasn't sure how you planned to like structure those or like what you wanted to like
Mm.
focus on for those, but like I'm excited just to like talk about, and I guess to note too, we were gonna actually exclusively talk about the Prime Kirk, not Kelvin Kirk. Like those will be actual like separate thing
Yes,
analyses, which is
yes,
important, which I think is really cool because then you can like branch out to like what about the mirror universe versions of characters and other alternate timeline characters.
yes, totally. So until next week, take care and live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.